Well, let's go to the NBA, Rob. And look, this saddens me because he is such an exciting, fun to watch player. But right now, Rob Parker, we got bad news regarding Zion Williamson.
I saw a picture that Rob G sent us.
That really was Rob G sent us a picture of Zion
from what,
in
2 years ago?
2019, right? Going into training camp his rookie season and going into training camp this season. And the difference, Rob, you're right, it's startling.
It is.
I mean, we know how big he was coming out of college, but he looks much thinner. You know, I hate to use that word with him, but he was more cut, more defined, still big. But now there's not as much definition, looks chubbier. Yeah, it's definitely different. And here's the deal. So Zion, we found out on Media Day, September 27th, that Zion suffered a foot injury while he was training over the summer, right before Summer League. Not that he was going to play in Summer League, but he's just working out and training. And the injury required surgery. So the GM, David Griffin, says on Media Day that Zion, he unveils this information that nobody knew about. And then he says he'll be ready for opening night, which is October 20th. And now we get the news today that Zion, the foot injury, he hasn't been running. He hasn't played 5-on-5. He hasn't been able to do drills. Now they're saying he's going to be able to start that, I think, this week. But he's going to be reevaluated by the doctors in 2.5 weeks. And there's no timetable for his return. Now, I'm not under the impression it's going to be 2-3 months.
No.
3 or 4 months, right?
We don't have that indication, right?
It's weeks, and it could be a month, right? If he's going to get reevaluated in 2.5 weeks, maybe that means he could play in 2.5, 3 weeks. But the bottom line, Rob, is this. Zion has proven to be injury prone thus far. He's had the injury at Duke, the foot injury, or the knee injury at Duke. He had the injury in Summer League. Remember that. He was only able to play 24 games as a rookie. And then last year he played 61. Last year was fairly steady. And now this injury. And Rob, we saw Derrick Rose, who played with tremendous torque, right, and explosiveness and herky-jerky off 2 feet and all that. And you saw the toll it ended up taking on his lower extremities.
Even though it's unbelievable, he's bounced back last year with
and
the
he's
Knicks.
He's really good, but obviously
not what he was, right? But I'm just saying, because Chris, I thought his career was over. I'm gonna be honest.
And he's had a nice little career since he's been back, right? And like you said, he was great in the playoffs for the Knicks. He was their best player in the playoffs.
He was,
but that's a Hall of Fame career. It's kind of Rob. You know what he's kind of like is Grant Hill. When Grant Hill came back and ultimately made the All-Star team one time. But neither of them kind of was what they were before, which looked like they could both be all-time greats, to be honest.
Grant Hill, I know people thought he was going to be that guy.
Oh, and he was, wasn't he doing, you were in Detroit, I think, at the time.
He was tremendous.
Just awesome, yeah. But Zion, Rob, I'm just concerned. I'm not going to panic. I'm not in panic mode. But it's just another red flag to will this guy be able to stay healthy and realize his potential?
I think it's fair only because of his history and what's happened. And from that picture, it's not like he's coming in and you go, wow, look at him. He's chiseled. Look at, he's put in some work in the offseason. Right. Yeah, it doesn't look like that. And then, he's been hurt. So you start to looking around, and then you hear, there's a lot of whispers going around about whether or not he likes it there in the organization, Chris. There's a lot of stuff. So I think people would be disappointed if this isn't like some great year for him, but starting off on a bad foot, so to speak. With an injury,
literally and figuratively.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But it's disheartening because we haven't been able to see him really And when we have watched him, Chris, he's
He
been
had a
unstoppable.
great year last year.
Yeah, he's unstoppable.
No, he did something nobody's done. Shaq, Wilt, whatever big man you want to say, the highest scoring average ever for a guy that's shooting 60% from the field. So he was fantastic. Here's one thing I will say.
That team is not good, which is last year, which was so surprising.
No. And I don't know that they're going to be very good this year. But, Rob, this might be the silver lining for the New Orleans Pelicans. There's been, as you said, there's been talk that he might become the first star player ever to reject the rookie extension, right? You know, usually that rookie, you play your first few years on the rookie scale, and then you establish yourself as a star, and then you become eligible for that first max contract, right? No one's ever turned it down. LeBron took a few, he took 3 years. Remember that deal? 3 years instead of 5. Right. And obviously ended up going to Miami, but nobody's ever turned it down. And there was talk that Zion might become the first. As you said, people think he's disgruntled in New Orleans. They haven't really built properly around him. Here's what I'd say to Zion, Rob. And if I was a parent of his and I see these injuries, I would be saying, let's sign that extension pronto. As soon as we can do it, sign that bad boy. Get your security, Zion.
Right.
If we don't like it, and I hate to do it because I don't necessarily like guys,
to force their way out.
Demand, right. But you can, if you do it with a year left, I'm cool. But 4 years, 3 years, like that stuff. But the fact is, Rob, if they're not any good in a few years, and he doesn't like what he sees happening, whether it's front office, coaching staff, roster, whatever, then he can say, I want out and I'm not re-signing again with you. And then they be forced to trade him to get something for him. So Rob, I think you would agree with me. He needs to go ahead and get that contract extension taken care of just for the freaking security, because these injuries, what if like Derrick Rose never came back the same, Rob?
Never came back
Derrick
the
Rose
same.
wasn't going to be we saw Isaiah Thomas. Not that Isaiah was on these guys' level.
No, but he got hurt. He never got paid, right, Chris, and never came back to that level. And a matter of fact, did he get signed by anybody? Because you remember he had an Instagram post with a Lakers jersey on. You remember that?
Yeah, I don't know if he's on the roster right now.
Rob
if it is for a small
am I wrong about
money,
that? Wasn't there? I don't know if it was his Instagram.
There was a notion that they might look at him. That's all it was. It wasn't,
okay, so it wasn't.
But he's bounced around Washington. He's obviously a minute with Cleveland and Denver and New Orleans. He's been all over the place, but not on the roster right now. But anyway, wow, Rob, I think Zion needs to go ahead when he's eligible and sign that contract extension, so he can get the security of knowing if I get hurt again or if I'm debilitated by these injuries, I still at least got my one max deal, and then you move from there. So